So, Sanaya Rivers got on live, and you better believe the next time that the Indiana Fever faced the Connecticut Sun, like, I just want to see, has this really even been covered on YouTube? ESPN posted it 7 hours ago. ESPN posted it. ESPN took clips of it live and posted it in full on their one, which is crazy.
Sanaya Rivers just called out Sophie Cunningham, and guess who's standing right next to her like it's a front row seat at the Petty Olympics? Yep, Marina Mabrey. This isn't just drama, this is premium, courtside chaos. Tension so thick you could dunk through it. What did Sophie do? Why did Sanaya choose that moment? And is Marina just vibing or secretly instigating? Hit play, because this WNBA
teammate, so evil.
I'm damned if I do or damned if I don't.
Marina Mabrey, damned if I do. Did she just say damned if I do, damned if I don't? She just knocked someone on their ass for no reason from behind. She freaking Marcus Morrised them. Well, no, sorry, Nikola Jokic on Marcus Morrised her.
If I do, damned if I don't.
I hate that one up.
Like, it's just basketball, man. Y'all love that shit in the NBA though. It'd be cool when the dudes do it.
People were calling for Jokic got a suspension for doing what Marina Mabrey did to Marcus Morris.
If you really watched that clip and thought J.C. Sheldon was trying to make that shot, then we need to send you back to Basketball 101 with a side course in common sense. That wasn't a basketball play. That was a shoulder-first, no-look torpedo aimed directly at Sophie Cunningham's soul.
I want to talk about, this is crazy. This is Sanaya Rivers and Marina Mabrey going on TikTok after that Connecticut Sun game and lying. And this is an example. I want to go through some things with this because this is an example to me of what an absolute unprofessional cesspool the WNBA is. And I know you all know that, but I still think it's important to talk about this because history gets rewritten all of the time. I just saw somebody talking about now that with the Cheryl Reeves stuff, if you saw my video, people talking about how Caitlin Clark was not playing well at the time of the selection and on. And that, again, revisionist history. I did a deep dive at the time, playing as well or better than any guard in the league. Chelsea Gray just...
The ball was a mere accessory, a prop in the theater of vengeance. It had as much relevance as a napkin in a hurricane. Sheldon wasn't going for 2 points, she was going for 2 ribs. And the way folks are out here defending it like it was just part of the game is the real comedy. Part of what game? The WWE crossover episode nobody asked for?
So first of all, there was a practice. They did their media during the practice. They pulled Sophie Cunningham aside, and of course they asked her about the J.C. Sheldon incident, and she stood on business. She said, this has been going on for a couple years now. Mind you, she was on the Phoenix Mercury last season, but she had mentioned that this had been going on for a couple years now with Caitlin Clark, and she was basically sending a message.
Sheldon might as well have worn a helmet and thrown up a linebacker's hand signal. She didn't drive to the hoop, she charged like a bull seeing red, and unfortunately for Sophie, she was the red. No finesse, no layup technique, no eyes on the rim, just raw, targeted energy like she was settling a score from 3 AAU tournaments ago.
You gained, I think, 500,000 followers and such, and your jersey selling out. How cool is that for your...
Yeah, you know, it's cool. It's funny what kind of people are attracted to. You know, I'm just trying to keep the main thing. The main thing is that's basketball, trying to win games, sticking up for my teammates. And that's all part of it. I think all that stuff it's fun and whatnot, but at the end of the day, we need to win some basketball games. I'm just going to be me. I don't go in there trying to predetermine anything. You know, I'm dialed in. I need to focus on hitting my shots, making sure I'm executing the schemes right. I'm not focused on the extracurricular activities. And you know what? During that, it was just part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, you know, the star player of the WNBA.
And yet somehow, in the land of backwards takes and hot mic analysis, Sophie Cunningham is getting cooked like she initiated the chaos. As if standing there bracing for impact like an unpaid stunt double was somehow a crime against humanity. People acting like she flopped, exaggerated, or sold it for the refs. When in reality, she took that shoulder like a parked car takes a joyriding teenager. The laws of physics did the talking. Sophie was just the unwilling recipient of an upper body freight train, and instead of sympathy, she gets memes? Meanwhile, Sanaya Rivers is lurking in the background like the friend who definitely didn't come to de-escalate. Nope. She's got that, I saw it all and I have thoughts energy. She doesn't need a mic, her side eye has its own commentary track. And let's not ignore the most underrated part of this cinematic chaos. Marina Mabrey is right there absorbing it all like she's on vacation in the drama tropics. She's a casual instigator, calm chaos coordinator. You just know she's ready to translate the tea to group chat in 5 different emojis and one perfectly timed GIF. That was an emotional foul, not a strategic one. If there were basketball infractions for holding grudges, that one would have come with a suspension and a therapy session. She wasn't driving the lane, she was driving a point. And that point was sharp enough to pop Sophie's equilibrium. And here's the irony. People will review that play 14 times, zoom in, slow it down, apply 3D modeling, and still claim it was just a hard play.
The Fever saw it coming. They went and got Sophie Cunningham, 6-year-old black belt. This is what the Bulls did with Charles Oakley to protect Michael Jordan. Watch the retaliation later by Sophie Cunningham. And again, this is inappropriate, right? No, it's what happens in basketball.
If the Indiana Fever fans keep voting the way that they are, could they get Sophie Cunningham to an All-Star game? The Indiana Fever have 4 players in the top 10 of WNBA All-Star voting right now. So could we see 5? However, that top 10 is missing someone, and I think you guys are about to snub Angel Reese from an All-Star game, which is crazy.
The goalposts aren't just moving, they've packed their bags and relocated to another sport entirely. Let's not forget Sophie's history. She's no stranger to scrappy play. She's had her fair share of scuffles, elbows, and post-whistle stare-downs. But here's the thing. There's a difference between getting physical and getting clobbered. And this wasn't 2 players jostling for position under the rim. This was a hit job in broad daylight, and the getaway car was somehow a free throw. But oh no, the Internet Brain Trust decided Sophie must have provoked it. Classic move. It's the sports equivalent of blaming the crash on the parked car, and while all this is unfolding, Cinia Rivers finally steps into the frame with more tension than a season finale. The timing, impeccable. The shade, measured. It's not just a comment, it's a courtroom statement. She's not yelling, she's not performing, she's just correct. Her tone says, "Y'all saw that mess. Don't gaslight me like we didn't all witness a shoulder-based assault."
I think something we noticed, and I think a lot of people noticed, is when Caitlin would get bullied, nobody would do nothing.
That's right.
Nobody would do nothing. It was like, hey, they didn't know, like, whoa, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people are doing this to Caitlin Clark. Teammates weren't jumping in there. They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea. Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6.
Yeah. Yep.
Out that doesn't even need backup. Just facts, vibes, and a side of indignation. And standing right beside her, Marina Mabrey continues her silent reign as queen of quiet chaos. She's not saying a word, but her face is practically narrating the situation like Morgan Freeman in a true crime doc. She's Switzerland with a camera roll full of receipts. She's the calm during the storm who also sells umbrellas. And the funniest part? There are still folks out here who think this was all normal, like this was your average Tuesday game with a little extra physicality. Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham is picking up her shoulder from the paint like it's a dropped earring. You don't accidentally launch yourself into someone's torso with that kind of commitment. That was a deliberate choice, executed with the grace of a wrecking ball in a tutu. And then the pearl clutching begins. Why is Cinia inserting herself? Why is she even commenting? Because someone had to say it. Someone had to play the role of basketball's brutally honest best friend. Cinia didn't start the fire, but she absolutely brought marshmallows. And her delivery? Cold, clinical, and deliciously on point. The kind of calm rage that says, I've got time today, and I brought the truth.
Sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, is anybody on this team going to stand up for Caitlin Clark? JC Sheldon grabbing Caitlin Clark all game, clawing at her. It's like tonight was a brawl, folks. Tonight was a brawl, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, is anybody on this team going to stand up for... And Sophie Cunningham.
Meanwhile, Marina remains unbothered. Her neutrality is legendary. She could host a summit between rival nations and still manage to come out with both sides liking her. But in this case, she's just basking in the heat from the drama flame that JC Sheldon accidentally on purpose lit with her shoulder. You can practically hear her thinking, if I don't say anything, I can't get fined, but best believe I know what I saw. And for the love of all things logical, let's put the final nail in this rhetorical coffin. If Sophie had been the one to lower the shoulder like that, the outrage would have registered on the Richter scale. But because it was Sheldon, somehow it's just part of the hustle. That's not hustle. That's street ball beef with a side of passive aggression. So now we're here. In a world where shoulders are weapons, accountability is optional, and spectators are rewriting the laws of contact sport in real time. But at least we've got Rivers Marina and a good old-fashioned jolt of drama to keep things honest. Because when the refs miss it and the fans twist it, someone's got to be brave enough to call the nonsense what it is. A drive-by in sneakers with a scoreboard as the alibi. And let's not pretend Marina Mabrey was just there to spectate like some casual bystander waiting for her Uber. No, she was standing beside Sania Rivers like a calm, caffeinated storm cloud with Wi-Fi access to every moment that led up to this exact mess. She wasn't alarmed, she wasn't confused, she was prepared.
Start with the play that set off the entire night. So as you guys can see here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlin Clark. She swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin Clark nudges her off because JC stays in her face. And then Tina Charles runs over and is kind of wagging her finger in Caitlin Clark's face. And then Marina Mabrey comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlin, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin's gonna have to start wearing goggles. And then Caitlin pushes her off of her, like, why are you still in my face? Marina Mabrey, bat out of hell, chucks Caitlin Clark to the ground.
She had the body language of someone who had already filed this drama under not surprising and clicked mark as read. You'd think being that close to a call-out might stir something, at least a flicker of concern, but nope. Marina was giving emotional Switzerland with the attitude of, yeah, Sania said it, and I meant it too. This wasn't just about the shoulder smash or the flying limbs, no. This was a culmination, a full season playlist of vibes Marina has been side-eyeing since pre-game warm-ups. You could see it in her stance. Unbothered, unimpressed, and unwilling to fake a neutral opinion when her side's been catching heat since day one. Let's be honest, Sophie Cunningham has been riding a fine line between team loyalty and petty provocateur, and that line snapped the second she decided to play guardian angel to Caitlin Clark. Now, in theory, defending your teammate or league mate should be a noble thing, a team-first, high-character move, right? But in the WNBA ecosystem, where locker room grudges age like fine wine and pettiness is an Olympic sport, choosing to go full knight in shining armor for Caitlin while ignoring the trauma economy surrounding the fever was a strategic disaster wrapped in a PR daydream.
I've been watching that Sophie Cunningham thing on repeat, man. That clip where she grabbed the girl and threw her down, so foul. It's a hard basketball foul, probably over the top. Of course it is, but why would it not be given the circumstances? But once she did the clinch, man, MMA fans, UFC, grappling, Muay Thai, like we all know. Once you seen that clinch, it was like, okay, she just ain't no regular fucking person. She knows something. She got some skills, and I guess she has like a black belt in Taekwondo or some shit like that, which is wild. And apparently she was the kicker on a high school football team. I mean, I've been going to the fucking lore of what is Sophie Cunningham. I'm like, god damn. This is what they mean when they talking about they like snow bunnies. Like, this, her.
And Marina? She clocked it from the moment Sophie strapped on her verbal cape. If Caitlin Clark sneezes, someone on Twitter calls it a microaggression. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is out here getting treated like NPCs in her origin story. And through all of that, where was Sophie? Right there, planting her flag in Camp Caitlin like she just found a new favorite influencer. Marina noticed. Oh, she noticed. Because while Caitlin Clark might be the media darling, Marina's out here grinding through double teams, catching elbows, and getting zero apologies from ESPN. She's watching her teammates get body checked into irrelevance while the commentary focuses on Caitlin's resilience, Caitlin's composure, Caitlin's pantheon of misunderstood genius. And suddenly, here comes Sophie swooping in like she's starring in the Caitlin cinematic universe, a hero in her own mind. And that's when Marina officially tapped out of the Cunningham Sympathy Club. So when Sheldon came in with that shoulder and Sania delivered the verbal fade, Marina's reaction was a masterclass in strategic indifference. She didn't jump in, she didn't defend anyone, she didn't even blink with concern.
Nah, enough's enough, bruh. Enough is enough, bruh. What is going on? WNBA, y'all need to get this under control. This is ridiculous. Marina Mabrey, you just put yourself in the Dejanay Carrington box. You dirty slime ball player, you come and blindside Caitlin Clark. Marina Mabrey assaulted and tried to fight Caitlin Clark today. This is ridiculous. WNBA, Kathy Engelberg, do something. Do y'all want to go back to 55 to 60% of the people not watching shit again? I normally don't cuss in my blogs, but forget that. This was bullshit.
Because in her mind, Sophie had already aligned herself with the narrative that keeps getting the rest of the Fever team absolutely cooked. Why should Marina care if Sophie gets trucked? She wasn't protecting them when the whole league turned into dodgeball practice against Indiana. Suddenly now we're supposed to cry over a shoulder bump? Nah. Marina's emotional investment expired 5 games ago. She doesn't do fake outrage. If she had $1 for every time someone cried about a Fever player being too aggressive, she could personally buy Sophie a spa day and a therapist. But she's not in the mood to coddle feelings when the receipts are sitting right there on film. Sophie Cunningham, in Marina's view, wasn't just sticking up for Caitlin. She was helping to create the false narrative that everyone's just bullying poor Caitlin, while ignoring the collective assault happening to the rest of the team. Like Nalissa Smith hasn't been shoved into orbit, like Aaliyah Boston hasn't been treated like a crash test dummy every other possession. Caitlin gets elbowed and suddenly it's DEFCON 1, but when the other Fever players are practically getting mugged, the refs swallow the whistle like it's an anti-inflammatory. Marina sees the double standard and decided a long time ago that she's not playing pretend about it. So, standing beside Sania as she read, "Sophie, like a Yelp review gone wrong?"
All right, enough is enough. You know, at some point, the line gets crossed too often where something needs to be done and things need to be corrected. And that is certainly the case with the way things around Caitlin Clark are officiated. This is a constant problem now. You know, it is something that since the beginning, I've kind of like backed off on because physical play is a part of sports. You know, going after a superstar and trying to rough them up a little bit to get in their head is a part of sports. But when it crosses the line, the referees need to do their job.
That wasn't awkward for Marina. That was justice with a front row seat. You could practically hear her internal monologue. Look, you chose a side. You wanted to be the spokesperson for the narrative that we're all bullies just being mean to Caitlin because she's talented? Fine. But don't act surprised when that energy comes back for you like a boomerang with beef. And let's not sleep on the irony. Sophie stepping up to defend Caitlin might have been sincere, or it might have been strategic. But the end result? She put herself squarely in the path of accountability, and unfortunately, accountability showed up with a shoulder attached. And Marina, sipping her mental tea, watched it unfold with zero surprise and even less remorse, because when you spend enough time throwing subtle shade at the people in the trenches with you, eventually those people stop ducking for cover when lightning strikes. And that's exactly what happened here. Sheldon threw the bolt, Sania voiced the thunder, and Marina, she was the calm eye of the storm, completely unfazed because Sophie Cunningham had already removed herself from the circle of trust, with a few too many Caitlin deserves better speeches. Marina's not going to defend someone who hasn't defended them. She's not here to play both sides of the fence when the fence itself is electrified with bias and nonsense.
Welcome to WNBA Fight Night, or as some people are saying, WNBA Raw. What a game that was. We had it all. We had basketball, we had fighting, we had blonde on blonde crime. Oh, such an epic. Oh, goodness. But at the end of the day, it resulted in an Indiana Fever W. 88-71, taking care of business.
She's tired of watching the same script play out, where the entire Fever squad gets treated like faceless extras while Caitlin's every sneeze gets a 5-minute highlight reel. Because she knows the truth, and more importantly, she stopped pretending she doesn't. Sophie can posture, she can be political, she can ride for Caitlin like it's a side hustle, but that doesn't earn her immunity when the rest of the league has receipts. And Sania Rivers? She just said what everyone else was thinking. Marina just didn't deny it. No flinch, no sympathy, no fake gasps. Just Marina Mabrey standing firm in the storm, letting the noise swirl around her while silently confirming, yeah, Sophie had it coming.